All right, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about a few key differences between Final Cut Pro and Premiere Pro, both the 2020 version or just the newest updated version. Now I do want to start by saying that I love both of these softwares so much so that I actually edit on both of them, Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro, depending on what the project is. All right, so we're gonna get straight into it, but before we do, I do wanna say if you stay to the end, I'm going to tell you a source where you can get a ton of amazing free plugins for your editing software to make your edits even better. So let's get started. All right, we're talking about Final Cut and Premiere. So let's start with the Premiere Pro 2020 version. Now, Premiere Pro is an amazing software. It's a super professional software. A lot of movies cut on Premiere Pro. It's used for a lot of really professional grade projects. And if you use Premiere Pro, you know that there are a ton of benefits. There are a lot of amazing professional features in Premiere Pro, but there also comes a few drawbacks with that as well. So let's start by talking about 3 cons of Premiere Pro. Con number 1 of Premiere Pro is the slow rendering speeds. Yes, Premiere Pro did just come out with a new update, a 2020 version that is supposed to make your rendering speeds and your export speeds faster, among other things as well. But after testing the rendering speeds on Premiere Pro on 3 different devices, I tested on 2 MacBook Pros and 1 MacBook Mini. I tried the 2019 Premiere Pro and the 2020 updated Premiere Pro. And I rendered both of the same video out on each device, and I found that the difference between the two was not that much. In fact, the 20-minute long video that I was editing and rendering took 36 minutes in the 2019 version of Premiere Pro, and it took 38 minutes in the 2020 version. So it really only saved me about 2 minutes. But at the end of the day, it was still a very long render. If you are a Premiere Pro user, you know that the rendering speeds are sometimes horrific and it crashes quite a bit as well. Con number 2 is the playback in Premiere Pro. A huge con for me is the fact that whenever I'm editing 4K footage or drone footage, the playback is very glitchy. And in order to fix that, you need to create something called proxies, which essentially makes your video quality worse while you edit, so the Premiere Pro software can handle the video that you're editing until you're done editing. Then you could bring it back into the format that it was originally in. But overall, it's just an extra thing that you have to do that could possibly be avoided. Con number 3, the fact that you have to pay $50 a month to be a part of the Adobe Creative Cloud. That gives you every application though, from Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Lightroom, After Effects, but still it's a monthly fee. So for those of you that don't like monthly fees, this might not be the software for you. However, you can purchase it as a year package as well, so you could renew it every year, but still having to constantly pay for it can become a pain. Now, of course, there are other cons to mention about Premiere Pro, but I felt like those were the 3 main ones that really stick out to me. Now I want to get into the pros of Premiere Pro. So without further ado, let's get into pro number 1. The first pro for me is the organization. Now take this with a grain of salt because I do know Final Cut Pro has decent organization abilities as well. But man, there is nothing like the bins feature in Premiere Pro. The fact that you could put custom named bins with custom colors and you can put whatever you want in those bins are an amazing feature. And they're one of the huge reasons I know it's so small and kind of a stupid reason for me to use it, but that is one of the biggest reasons why I love Premiere Pro personally. Because when I'm working on a big project like a short film, the more your timeline expands, the grander it gets, the more layers you start to begin to have in an edit, the organization becomes so important. And those bins, knowing where everything is color-coded, and then it's color-coded and matched with the timeline, it's an amazing feature. Adobe, I love you for making that feature. So that's definitely a pro, at least for me with Premiere Pro. Pro number 2 is the technical. I mean, Premiere Pro is a very technical, professional grade editing software. As I said earlier, a lot of Hollywood movies actually cut and edit on Premiere Pro because it's that professional. Especially with inside Premiere Pro, you can integrate it with its brother After Effects. And those two together, you feel like you have no limitations when it comes to what you can do in the editing room. Now, I know Final Cut Pro X is a professional platform as well. Don't get me wrong. It's not what I'm saying it's not. But with Final Cut Pro, it comes very basic, and you actually have to get a lot of third-party plugins or use Apple Motion to help you get some of those more professional features that you can get natively inside Premiere Pro with the integration of After Effects. Okay, so the pro number 3 for me is, this is kind of dumb. I don't even know why I'm adding this in, and it 100% is completely personal reason. It's a personal pro, and it's the aesthetic of Premiere Pro. I don't know what it is, but the way they have the timeline and the bins and everything organized with color coding, and I know you could color code on a basic level in Final Cut, but when you see a timeline just with a ton of layers, an intense, super complicated looking timeline in Premiere Pro, it just like really inspires me. I don't know what it is about it. I know it's kind of a dumb reason, but the aesthetic of Premiere Pro, I personally just love it. I know that's a weird thing to say, but at the end of the day, I like to like the aesthetic of it as well as the capabilities. Because when you choose an editing software, you're going to be spending a lot of hours inside of the software. So it's ideal to like it. Okay, so now let's get into Final Cut Pro. And I do want to say I love Final Cut Pro. It's an amazing software. I don't want to make it sound like I'm trash talking Final Cut Pro, because I'm not at all. And Final Cut Pro was actually the only software that I edited on the first year and a half of editing. And because of that, I've been able to form a pretty solid opinion or a lot of pros and cons. So let's get into those. So the cons with Final Cut Pro X. Number 1 being the plugins. Now, as I said earlier, Final Cut Pro X, when you first buy it and open it, it's pretty basic. It comes with a very limited amount of generators, titles, effects, etc. And in order to get a lot more of those professional looking titles, effects, transitions, you a lot of times have to buy third-party plugins or go out and buy those transitions or titles. And after a while, that can get really expensive. So that's definitely a con for me on Final Cut Pro. Con number 2 is the timeline. Now, I know a lot of people love the magnetic timeline in Final Cut Pro. Basically, what it does is if you have one clip and you cut that clip in the middle and you delete that, these two clips will automatically and magnetically come together. In Premiere Pro, if you delete that middle clip that you cut, these two clips would not magnetically come together. They would stay where they are. I personally like that because I like the control of that. And in Final Cut Pro, the only way you can do that is if you click the keyboard shortcut P, which then puts like a blank generator in between. It's just not the same. I personally wish that they had that same feature as Premiere Pro, but I might be wrong. Maybe they do have it and I just don't know. Let me know in the comments if they do, but that's a con for me personally. Con number 3, and my biggest one with Final Cut Pro, is the huge file sizes. Now, Final Cut Pro X, it renders your video constantly in the background, and that's an automatic setting. And it takes up a lot of your SSD storage on your computer, and it drives me crazy. So what you can do is actually turn that off, which I'll quickly show you right now. All right, so the audio is going to be a little bit different since this is now a voiceover with a microphone, but basically all you do is when you're in Final Cut Pro, you go up to Final Cut Pro and you go up to Preferences, and then you're going to go to Playback, and it says Background Rendering. You're just going to click that off. Now I'm going to keep it on for this. I'm on my Mac Mini. I'm going to keep it on for that, but that's how you get rid of the background rendering. And then to delete even more space that you don't need, you go to File, hold on, you go to Timeline. Okay, so you go to File, Delete Generated Library Files. You go up to Delete Rendered Files, Unused Only, and then you click OK. Okay, now enough about cons on Final Cut Pro. Now let's talk about the pros, because again, there are a lot of pros with this software. Pro number 1 is the speed of Final Cut Pro. It is so fast. The renders, the exports, they're all fast. You remember that clip that I was telling you took me 36 minutes in the new version of Premiere Pro and 38 minutes in the old 2019 Premiere Pro? Well, it only took me 4.5 in Final Cut Pro X. That's how much quicker Final Cut Pro X can render your videos. So that's a huge pro for me, especially if you have to turn around client projects, you have a deadline, or you just want to turn around YouTube videos quickly. Final Cut Pro might be the call for you just based off of the speed of rendering and the speed of exporting. Pro number 2 is that it's a one-time payment. Now, Final Cut Pro X is an application owned by Apple, and they only make you pay a one-time fee for the Final Cut Pro software, and that fee is $399.99, so basically $400. And it's a one-time payment. You don't have to pay again, which is amazing for minimalistic people who are mature and responsible with their finances, like YouTube creator Matt Diavella. So that's another pro to keep in mind. So pro number 3 is it's user-friendly. At the end of the day, Final Cut Pro X is a really professional grade software. It is. But it's also really user-friendly. It's the kind of software that you can pick up within a day or two after using it, which is good. If you don't have a lot of time you can take out to learn a new software, Final Cut Pro might be good for you because maybe you just want to use it for basic YouTube videos or, I don't know, anything along those lines. But don't get me wrong, and don't underestimate Final Cut Pro X, because you can edit really, really, really technical, insane videos with Final Cut Pro. Once you start getting more plugins and start to integrate things like Apple Motion, there starts to feel like you have less limitations in there as well, and you can get a lot of really, really technical edits done in Final Cut Pro as well. Okay, so which platform do you choose? I don't know. That's why I'm using both. I don't know. I will say Premiere Pro, I use it strictly and really only for bigger, longer projects like short films. I do spend and use most of my time in Final Cut Pro though, because I do have a lot of deadline client jobs where they need it by next week. So when I'm doing full production, I'm filming and then I go to edit. I need to turn that around quickly and I still need to be professional. I'll use Final Cut Pro because I know that I can do that. It's a really reliable software. If you want to take my approach, and if you want to edit longer form videos like short films, documentaries, or longer interviews, you can do that in Premiere Pro. That's what I use it for, at least. And then for Final Cut Pro, I use for my client projects, my YouTube videos, because of the fast rendering speeds and turnaround time. Now, I hope I shed a light on some good points to help you decide what software to use, because I know it can be an irritating, frustrating, and difficult decision to make. I mean, the software that you choose, you're, again, as I said earlier, going to be spending a lot of hours inside of it. So it has to be one that you ideally like. So you could play around with both. I know that they both actually have free trials, so you can play around in both and see which one you like better. Or you could just go dive in head first and choose a platform. I hope the reasons I use each platform could help you distinguish which one is best for you. But at the end of the day, you need to know what's best for you and your videos that you're editing, and you need to decide accordingly. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. But as I promised, I said I would show you a place where you can get free plugins for Final Cut Pro X. There's a creator on YouTube named Ryan Nangle, and he has this online store where he gives away a lot of free, amazing, and very, very professional grade plugins, LUTs, titles, transitions, adjustment layers, the list goes on. He has it for free. So I will make that the first link below in this YouTube video description. Make sure to go check him out. And you could also buy some of his products if you want to support him, because he's an awesome creator who gives a lot of things away for free, which helps new creators starting out who might have a smaller budget when starting. So thanks so much, guys, for watching. And until next video, peace out. Oh, I forgot. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe. So go ahead and click that. Yeah. All right.